Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Coffee with Katie. I have my dregs mug from Fable Grounds Coffee and some green tea. So today's video is going to be my June reading wrap up. So what do I even say? Oh, shaking the camera. So June was a little bit of a mess for me. And I don't mean like I couldn't read, I wasn't reading, I was busy. I mean like, it started off bad. I DNF'd a book, and then I should have DNF'd a book but finished it, and I like almost went into a reading slump and didn't want to read anything else on my TBR and just wanted to read like really fast fantasy romance to just like get my mind into reading, or just like short books. I don't know. I was just like really questioning my life decisions at the time. So June was pretty rough for my reading. I didn't enjoy a lot of them. Some of them I did. Don't want to say I didn't enjoy a lot of them, but like it was just a roller coaster of emotions and it was a lot. So let's get into it. So the first book that I was able to read is Painted Devils by Margaret Owen. I'm not going to get into this too much because I did put up a in-depth review about this book separately. So I'm just going to barely touch on this, but I did finish this at the beginning of June and I really liked it actually. I liked it more than the first one, which surprised me. This was enjoyable. This made me laugh. This was fun. I went through it really quickly. I was also listening to it. So I liked this. This was fine. And I did give it 4 stars. So yeah, this was a fine start to June. But then I was trying to get through all of my NetGalley books, and I did get through most of them, but I picked up A Crown of Ivory and Glass by Claire Legrand. It sounded really interesting. I thought I'd really like it, and I DNF'd it. I recently picked it back up at the last like couple of days of June to see if I would like it, but let me backtrack and get into it. So I picked it up. It is really upsetting because it sounds like it should be really interesting and like a really cool world, and there's a lot of things that are happening in theory, but it was so cringy and boring and it was so frustrating. So you're following this like main character who is in a rich family, and I can't even remember her name right now. That's so ridiculous. I hear her name all the time. Anyway, then like a rich family, but they're in this like blood feud with another family, and there's demonic powers at play. You don't really know what that means, but there is magic in this world, and she cannot use magic, and in fact, magic harms her. It causes her physical pain. So it's like a disability for her, and she has anxiety on top of that because of it. And it's like kind of really shameful because if you're in a higher family, you should have magic and you should be able to wield magic. So it's like a very ostracizing, difficult, painful thing for her. But to combat that, she just likes to just kind of enjoy her rich, spoiled existence and just like relish that. And she comes across as extremely selfish, extremely unlikable. Maybe that's on purpose. Very like, everyone else is the problem. I'm fine, but I also hate myself. But all of you, I will just use you as a means to an end, and I have no remorse about that. Like, there's just a lot of weird things that she says at the beginning that just like, she's a horrible person. And she was glad that her sister was sent to war to become this like warrior class because she couldn't use magic, and she was thankful that her sister got sent anyway because she didn't want to go and she wanted to enjoy her pampered life. And the sister aspect was really cool. They like visit her at the very beginning, and she can like turn into like, I don't know. They talk about like feathers, like they can transform into a creature that's like a warrior, and they can go into the wood that's like magical. That part was cool, but that's like 1 second of the book. And then you might go back there towards the rest of it because it's a pretty long book, but I didn't get to that point. So then she meets this guy. He's got some empathic abilities and he can take her pain away, and there's like some dynamic with that. But she's also like, he'll take her pain away and she'll be like, I hate you because I will never feel this way again without you. Can't you just say like, thank you? Like what the... And there's a lot going on, and I'm sure there's a lot of parts to play, and I'm sure it's trying to represent disabilities and mental health and a lot of different things. But the way it was coming across to me was very abrasive, and I didn't really like it. I also don't understand what the plot is at this point, and I thought I was getting close. I like went back to it, I set it down, couldn't stand it, had to move on. went back to it the last couple of days and was like, they're talking about going and facing this demon and that maybe this demon can cure her and maybe this will be interesting. And I just haven't even gotten to there, and I don't think I'm gonna finish it. I think I was done with it. Picked it back up. Didn't hate it as much that time, but I don't think I care enough. And I already slogged through a couple of books in June that I probably should have DNF'd. So I think I just need to DNF this and just let it go. I think I'm at like 30 to 40% of the book, and I'm still feeling this way, so I think I just need to let it go. So those are my thoughts on that, even though I haven't finished it. So, you know, take that with a grain of salt. Watch some reviews for people that did finish it, but I don't think it's for me, and I don't think I'm gonna finish it, and I was pretty disappointed in that. It's also my first book from her, so I'm really hoping Furyborn is nothing like that. I don't think it is from the feedback I'm seeing, but that one was a little rough. And speaking of rough, I did finish The Bladed Faith by David Dalglish, and this was extremely disappointing for me. Yay! I am so sad that I did not like this. I tried to push through it and think like, it'll get better, it's gonna get great. And it just like never did. I felt like I was missing pieces of the story, but I wasn't, and it was just this weird thing that was happening as I was listening to it. Because it's not that there's actual information missing, I don't think. It felt like there was. It's really hard to describe how my experience with this book was, I feel like. The characters kind of blurred together for me. Like, I honestly could not tell you. Let me see. I think you get 3 or 4 different perspectives in this book, maybe 5, maybe more. And there was like 3 characters that I kept losing track of who they were. And I kept thinking they were another character, and they weren't, and it was just confusing me. And it wasn't super important. Well, I don't want to say that. That sounds bad. But it's not like, if you couldn't remember who it was, it's not like you would get lost in the story. Like, you could still follow what they're doing. You could still continue the journey. But it was just kind of boring. Saying it's boring just sounds insane. Seeing as there's like magical powers granted by the gods, and he's a prince where his kingdom was taken over, and he's like becoming a deadly assassin for vengeance. Like, how did this go wrong? I have no idea, but this just wasn't good, and that makes me sad. I thought I would love this. I almost DNF'd this, and I don't think I'm gonna continue the series. I don't think I'm gonna pick up book 2 because I struggled with this. The combat was okay. Like, I feel like there were several parts of the combat where I was like, this is pretty cool, but not enough for me to continue. And it was just kind of overall really disappointing, and I don't really know why. I hope other people pick this up and they read it and they love it and they just were able to vibe with it. Maybe I shouldn't have listened to it as an audiobook, but I feel like that would have helped me get through it, because I think if I had read it and it wasn't an audiobook, I wouldn't have finished it. Oh, I don't know. If any of you have read this, please let me know your thoughts, because I'm very confused on why I didn't love this. Very confused. Maybe it's me. Maybe it's just me and this book didn't vibe and that's just the end of it. But I was really sad about this. I gave it 2 stars. And from there, I read Iron Gold by Pierce Brown. I was a little hesitant to get into this. I didn't know how they were going to continue the story. The first book of the Red Rising trilogy, I was kind of like, it's fine. The second book, I was like, this is like a lot of nothing, and then it's horrible at the end. The third book, I loved. So I didn't really know how to feel. The story is continuing, how he's gonna do all of this, that I'm continuing the Red Rising series. I just didn't know. I really liked this. I was kind of shocked. I enjoyed this a lot. I read it really fast. It was really enjoyable. I think part of it is because the story changes a little bit to where you're following 4 different perspectives, sorry. And I liked that. So Darrow is still one of the perspectives, but then you get 3 new ones. And I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed the back and forth, the filling of the information, the different perspectives, the different classes they're in, or like casts, I guess they're in. And also the backgrounds. So like so-and-so's son or whatever. I don't want to spoil anything, but like, I liked that. That was really interesting, and I kind of read this faster than I thought I was going to because of that, and I enjoyed it quite a lot. I can't really tell you much about it because it will ruin the first trilogy for you, but I wasn't sure how I was gonna feel after reading the first trilogy, but it was easy to listen to. It was pretty fast paced. It was heart-wrenching at times. There was some mystery at times. Very emotional, very tense, and we'll see how Dark Age goes, but I did finally read Iron Gold, and I gave it 4 stars. The next one I was able to read via audiobook because it was given to me from NetGalley was Wings, Once Cursed and Bound by C.J. Piper. No, by Piper J. Drake. Don't know what happened there. This is book 1 in the Mythwoven series, and this was... Okay, let me just... So at first this book was pretty interesting, and I did like it. I liked how it started with the character... Well, okay. In this story, the character gets a pair of shoes, like dancing shoes, and it's supposed to, they're cursed so that she will dance to her death. That's kind of what you know going in, right? But you also know that she's not exactly human. She's also this like Thai bird princess kind of a thing, and it's, yeah, that's it. So I liked the book started right off the bat, basically with the character getting the shoes. So you feel like, you know, immediately there's danger there, whether she puts them on or not. Like, immediately there's danger. If she has the shoes, what's going to happen? And that is at the very beginning of the book, so it pushes the story forward quite a bit. And, you know, you're fast, you're invested. It's easy to get invested because it's so fast, I think. Unfortunately, as time went on, I kind of grew to be more disinterested and bored. Danger of the shoes kind of feels like it was very much downplayed. They said things like, the shoes are so dangerous, the shoes will try to kill you. You know, they said a lot of things. But the way it came across in the book was kind of rather tame almost, which is crazy when you think about it. And the reason behind it was due to her not being completely human. She was also like half of this like mythical creature or whatever. But that was one of the reasons I was interested in this book, was that level of danger. And I felt like you didn't really get that. I feel like it just kind of swept under the rug at some point. I did like that there were so many magical and paranormal creatures. There was a wide variety. You were introduced to them like all of the time. And I think it will even expand more with the rest of the books. And I really liked the foxes. There was like the foxes. I don't know if they were kitsune or what, but there were a couple of foxes that you get introduced to, but you get like a very small glimpse of them. And they're not in it very much at all, like a few pages. But I did really like them. There is romance in this. The romance in the spice was fine, but that's kind of the issue, is that the book was just like kind of okay and fine. And it also, while being, you know, fine, went downhill a smidge. There's also this scene towards the end of the book where she's like in a lot of danger. It just seems like she gets out of it so fast and easily and conveniently that it seemed weird. So I didn't really like this book. I didn't really care for it. Overall, it was okay. It was fine, I guess. I'm probably not going to continue the series, and I'm like so disappointed because I feel like it was just like all these things I was reading that I had hopes for and high hopes for, and then I was just like, eh. And that's what I felt for this. I'm probably not going to continue, but I think if it sounds interesting to you and you like vampire romance, because there is a vampire in this, that you would probably like it, but it's not for me, and I don't care enough about the world or the foxes to continue. And I gave this 2 stars. On a happier note, I finished A Torch Against the Night by Saba Tahir. This is book 2 in the Ember and the Ashes series. I really liked this. This was part of my edge, you know, my shelf, sprayed edges shelf challenge. I drew this for June and ended up picking it up and kind of reading it really quickly again. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed book 1 a lot, but I liked this one more because I feel like book 1 is a lot of setup, and this is a lot of tension, craziness, things happening. Heart-wrenching moments, you know, those kinds of things where you're just like, oh, what's gonna happen? So I really, really liked this. You also get Helene's perspective starting in this book, which I enjoyed. It has a lot of, you know, horrible situations, tension, impossible odds, and a lot of calling morals into question, which was cool to see how the characters dealt with that. And I loved getting Helene's perspective, like I said, and I'm looking forward to getting more of that in the future. I will say some of the characters' choices or ways the plot went were kind of weird to me. Like, I felt like it shouldn't have gone that way. It should have gone a different way. So it didn't always make sense to me, but it's also not over yet. You know, it's book 2 out of 4. And I was frustrated with some stupid choices on Helene and Laya's part, but it wasn't necessarily unrealistic. Like, it wasn't necessarily an unrealistic choice. So, you know, take that with a grain of salt, but just kind of some of the things that happened, I was like, I don't feel like that would have happened. It was still really good. And I loved it. And I can't wait to see what happens. So, yay for a win. And I gave it 4.5 stars. And the last book that I was able to read in June was Mountains Made of Glass by Scarlett St. Clair. I also got this on NetGalley to review via audiobook. And this book was very atmospheric, dark, fairy tale-esque. And I did like it more than I thought I would, to be honest. I wasn't really sure what I would think going into it. I thought this would be more my vibe than like A Touch of Darkness, which I did read and I did not care for. This is like a Beauty and the Beast retelling, but it's not just a Beauty and the Beast retelling. I think there was other kind of retellings in it as well. It's pitched as like a fairy tale retelling, which was very fitting because it did feel very much like a fairy tale. The spice level of this was a little more than I would prefer compared to the length of the book and the plot. Kind of what she's known for, so you know, if that's your thing, read it. But if that had been like removed or toned down, I think I would have loved this book. I loved how the writing made it truly feel like a fairy tale. It is magical and terrifying with sinister elements. I loved that. And like I said, it's part Beauty and the Beast retelling, so I loved the banter between the other characters and the Beast character. There was a lot of like humor and banter and like you're an idiot type of a situation because it's a Beauty and the Beast retelling. I really liked how that was written. It was really funny. It was really enjoyable. But there's also a lot of other fairy tale and sinister things afoot where you like encounter a Selkie, like all kinds of things. So overall, I did like this book quite a bit. And it was more than I originally thought I would enjoy it, but it was also not the perfect book for me. But I do like this. I think this helped me see that I could read something of Scarlett St. Clair and enjoy it, because Touch of Darkness just wasn't my thing. But if you like your spice ramped up, even if it's a short book, I think you will like this book, especially if you like Scarlett St. Clair. It's a totally different vibe, obviously, than the Touch of Darkness series. But I did really enjoy this. The narrators were good, and I gave it 3 stars. Well, those are all of the books that I was able to read in June. Please comment down below and let me know if you've read any of these books and what you thought of them. If I swayed you into reading some, if I dissuade you into reading others, I would love to know. As for now, that is it for today's video. Please like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I will see you next time. Stay safe and caffeinated. Bye.